Today's video is going to be led by my friend Sarah, who I like to call a watercolor wizard, and she's taking on a challenge today.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm doing a little challenge. I am going to do a painting using dollar store paints. So I picked up this paint set at the dollar store. It cost $2. First things first, I'm gonna swatch the paints and see what they turn out looking like. I'm gonna use the brush that came with the paints in order to do this. Got a little piece of illustration board. There's 18 colors in here, so I'm dividing it into that many colors. And I just wanna see what kind of colors, what kind of pigment I'm gonna get out of this. And then after I've swatched it, I'm going to do a painting with it. The reason I do swatching, and I do this with professional paint as well as cheaper paints, is just to see how much pigment you get out of it and how many layers you have to do before you get a saturated color. Now, with higher quality artist paints, you're probably gonna get a much more saturated color faster. But I just wanna see what we can do with some inexpensive paints from the dollar store. And whether or not we can do a very nice illustration with just that. And I think we can. These are actually more pigmented than I thought. These the best pigments I've ever seen? Absolutely not. This brush sucks. So I would recommend, if you are gonna use dollar store paints, get a slightly better brush, because I'm over here picking the hairs it shed out of my palette and off of my painting, and we don't really want that. There's probably some slightly better brushes at the dollar store, but when I go to paint my actual painting, I think I'll use my professional brush. This brush is going in the skip because it's no good. But I'm liking some of these pigments, the way these are turning out. This orange is pretty nice. That black is pretty heavily pigmented. The blues and the greens I really like. I'm not too crazy about the way the reds and the yellows turned out, but we're gonna do a painting with the dollar store paint and see where we go. So I've gone ahead and printed an adorable Halloween cat that I found on Google. I think this is a coloring book page. I don't know who did it. I'm sorry. If you do know who did it, put it in the comments and I will make sure to credit them, but it was just sitting in a folder of cute things. So I'm gonna take the back of this and scribble all over it with graphite. If you want to do your own drawing, go nuts. I'm just showing how I would transfer a sketch I did or whatever reference picture I do, or I use onto illustration board in order to paint on it. So I've got my adorable little kitty. She's very cute. I'm gonna get a piece of washi tape. We are gonna get a fat, cheap ballpoint pen. Let's trace your cute little cat. So we're gonna use our Dollarama paints to paint it and see how awesome we can make this look. Or not, we'll see. This is an adventure. We'll find out. I said earlier I was going to use different brushes because I don't trust the dollar store brush that came with the paint set. It is shedding hairs more than my dog. My dog sheds a lot. I'm used to picking hair out of my artwork, but it's usually dog hair, not brush hair. And once we're done painting it, we're going to ink it with a Dollarama Sharpie pen. Look-see. That's pretty good. All right, there he is. So let's pick a brush. Not too big, it's about the same size as the brush that came with this watercolor set. Now we're gonna start with lighter colors and work our way to darker colors. I don't really know what kind of texture to expect out of this, but I guess we'll find out. is gonna react to salt. We're gonna find out. Got this little pumpkin hat. Pumpkin cat and his pumpkin hat. Green eyes. Maybe green with a touch of yellow, we'll see. Let's make your collar black. Everything that has already been painted now needs a chance to dry before I touch anything else, or else we're going to end up with bleeding when a wet part of one touches a wet part of another. All right, we'll be back. All right, our first layer is done and dried, so we're going to go in and do some more. One thing I have noticed about this paint is it's a bit of a pain to get the pigment out and the pigment mixed. Dry for a little bit. Next out of this, we're gonna add a little bit of a background. And I think we're gonna use this blue. Tool and see if it does anything. Add some salt, let it dry. I'm gonna drop in a few more patches of color while we're salting it, just to see if we can get some interesting textural elements going on. I'm not really loving the way this purple texture has worked out for our kitty cat friend. So we're gonna go back in. Looks like our paint is dry now, and we're gonna ink using a good old Sharpie pen. I got them in a 2-pack at the dollar store, so we are fully using Dollarama products for this adventure. Now the reason why I normally don't ink with a Sharpie when I'm doing watercolor paintings is because they're not water fast. If you want to go back over it with watercolor, you're going to have to be pretty darn careful to make sure that that works for you, because it will bleed like crazy. So you better be sure that you're done with your watercoloring before you touch it with the Sharpie pen, or else you may be disappointed at the amount of bleeding that you'll receive. Little black cat with a Dollarama paint set.
A big thank you to Sarah for leading us on this craft project idea, and thanks to you for watching. Check out the links in the description if you want to see more of what we do.